Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the second actual graded week of Orchestra Online. And here we have our second assignment having to do with three related scales. Ta-da! So that's the intro. And let's see, part one, instruments. There'll be a little bit of review here, but this will give you the idea of what's going on. Instruments. So first there's the parts icon, where you're talking about adding and deleting instruments. We're talking about moving them around in the score. So far, so good. Now, when we last left off, we had something that resembled this. This is the previous assignment, and what I'd like you to do is to open up that previous assignment. I'm assuming that you've already logged in, and if you have logged in, under, oh, wait, cancel, hang on a second. Always save before you leave the page. Save, click, there we go. Now, for the little note icon of my scores. All right, 3, 2, 1, Shazam. All right, so yeah, not right now, thanks. So you might have one of these. This is the viola one, but we're going with cellos this week because, you know, let's give the cellos a shout out, as they say. So you'll have something that resembles this, 2 octaves of D major, whether it's for cello or bass or violin or viola. You have your name over here, and you've got the mezzo forte, you've got the down bow, you've got the decrescendo scale going from D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp, D, and etc., slurs in the eighth notes, all that good stuff. This is where you left off. Now, what I would like you to do is, to do a couple of things. If you are in, if you've opened this up and you have a piano part, you've been writing in the piano part, with a bracket connecting the upper part and the lower part, then you'll want to change that. And you change it by going to this parts icon that was referred to just a moment earlier. Matter of fact, we referred to right there, parts icon. So if you click the parts icon, BIP, you will see that it says violoncello, which is the full name for the cello. Cello is actually an abbreviation of violoncello, which is a bit much. And if you have piano already there, then you want to add your own instrument. Bowed strings, double bass, violin, viola, cello. Keyboards. You know, let's say that you had that piano there. Piano, okay. And maybe you had this piano and there's the cello part and you're like, oh, I've got all this stuff here. I've just added the cello or I just added violin, viola. I want to get rid of this other thing. No problem. Getting rid of them, click the trash can and piano goes away. Like so. Suppose you are looking to add something besides piano. Way down the line, this is not right now, this is not this assignment. You want to add a violin part, click OK. Ta-da, there it is. And now you say to yourself, well, sure, but why is the violin part below the cello part? Shouldn't the treble clef thing be above the bass clef thing? The answer is yes. Over here, you grab this item, drag upwards. Ta-da, it's changed around. Huzzah. Now, this is getting a bit ahead of ourselves. Right now, we're just going to delete the violin part. We have nothing but cello. Okay, so you've opened that up. You saw how to add instruments, how to delete instruments. You saw how to move them around. So that is part one. Part one's not that difficult. So now, moving on to part two, measures. This is going to be a quick review. It almost doesn't warrant its own Roman numeral, but nevertheless, there it is. So, measures. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 measures, and there's a little measure of rests there, whatever. We could actually delete that by clicking the minus button, and it goes away. Now, what I would like you to do is take this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 measure long thing and make it 15 measures long. So how do we do that? Easy way, add measure after. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We now have a 15 measure long piece. There's measure 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, measure 10 labeled right there. Very handy. Okay, done and done. So, adding measures, removing measures, not a big deal. Like I said, this is so quick, so easy, it almost doesn't warrant its own Roman numeral. But next up, this section does. And here we have, let's see, copy and paste. Rather a lot like word processing, which is handy for us. So, to select something that you want to copy, you would have to click the item itself. Now, if you want to click the whole measure, click someplace where there's not a note head. BIP, the entire measure is selected. You can do that over here. BIP, entire measure selected. BIP, this whole measure. You get the idea. bip, the entire measure is selected. But suppose you don't want to copy the whole, suppose you don't want to copy the whole measure. Suppose you just want to copy the bits that are slurred. You select one specific note head. It's going to play a little note now. Well, kind of quiet. Let's bring that up a little bit so you can hear what's going on. Let's say you want to select a note head. La, there we are. And you want to just copy these notes. So now you hold the Shift button down. Ta-da! They are all copied. Now, at this point, you do what you've been doing in word processing programs the whole time. Command C for copy. And you could plunk that over here. Command V for paste. And that's what you just copied, and it's been pasted right there. Now, suppose you don't want that to stay there. I just did that as an example. You go up to the Edit Bay. There's the Undo button. Also, Command Z will do the job as well. Undo. So, what I would like you guys to do, however, is this. Well, actually, before I say anything about that, let's move on to the next Roman numeral, which is Roman numeral 4, also known as IV. And this will give us the specifics of what it is I want you to do. Come now. What's going on? Oh, why did that move? Hang on a sec. Copy, paste, and let's... Yes, part 4, assignment overview. 3 scales, 1, 2, 3. The first is major. The second one is natural minor. The third one is melodic minor. And melodic minor means accidentals. Now, in case you're saying, hang on, I don't know what natural minor and melodic minor are. How am I supposed to input them if I don't know what they are? Well, that's what we're going to be going into right now. Have no fear. All right? So this is the overview. I'm going to want you to actually, you've already done 1/3 of it right there. Major, you've got that. The natural minor is connected to the major. They're all related. Actually, you have 3 related scales. I can put the word related in there. Natural minor and melodic minor are all related to the major mode as well, and I'll show you that in just a moment. So click. Here we are. All right. So actually, this is more like a header than anything else, because really, part 4. To begin with, we are modifying the last assignment, which is what we opened up here. We already added 10 measures of rests. We've done that with the plus symbol. And now, what I'd like you to do is select all. Now, this is the command button and the letter A. Select all. Absolutely everything's been selected. Now, with everything selected, we can change the key signature. Right up here, this icon under the measure bay, where add measure, delete measures, change time sig, change key signature. To make life easy on everybody, I'm going to go with a key signature that I think we can all function with. We can all work with. We're going to go to G major right here. Basses, this means you don't have to write things with 47 ledger lines as you climb up the neck of the instrument. All right, so G major, and I hit OK. Now, notice this. I'm switching from a key signature that had 2 sharps, F sharp and C sharp, to a key signature that only has 1 sharp. The only thing that's changing the key signature, the notes will remain the same. I hit OK, and you'll notice that now all of the C sharps that were just part of plain old D major, they have to put them as accidentals because they're not there in the key signature. So, how do you adjust for that? Well, you could select this individually, click, and you can hit the equals button, and it'll make it natural. If you hit the equal button again, it'll remove the natural symbol, but it'll still be natural. And you could do it that way if you wanted to, with each of the actual, C sharps. Or you could do this. Let's select all again, Command A. Now remember, we've changed this to the key signature of G major. We want a G major scale. So I'm just going to hit the up arrow a few times till our root note, the first note right there, is on G. Now those of you that do not play the cello or the bass, or piano for that matter, trust me on this. This is where the open string G is for cellos. This is the second finger on the bass for G. Violas, yes, I should be going up 1 more notch for violas, but no, this is cello, so this is where the G is. This is open G right there. And you just arrow up. Notice when I arrowed up, it wiped out all the accidentals, which is an interesting thing. Suppose you had accidentals everywhere. Suppose you had like a flat, suppose you had a sharp there, and you had another sharp there, and you had some like double flat there, all craziness everywhere. Here's the thing. If you select all and you move the notes, bam, every single accidental is wiped out. So, you know, that's kind of annoying. However, if you go up by an entire octave, hold the command button down and do arrow up, the accidentals will stay, which is kind of neat. However, if you go one note at a time, bip, 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 move them all up, accidentals go away. So now we're starting on the note G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G, etc., etc., etc. Only one last thing to change, and can you guess what that is? That's right. Why does the title say D major when it's in G major? Matter of fact, let's do this. I'm going to do this whole thing right here. So, 3 related scales. And the subtitle, G major, comma, E minor. Oh, actually, let me say this. E natural minor, comma, E melodic minor. And we'll talk about all of that in a bit. All right, so here's the deal. I'll explain that in a moment, but first we're just going to look at this. So we've moved up, starting on the note G, ending on a crazy high G. Quarter notes are G, G, G. We've got 10 extra measures of space to play with. All right, so far so good. And we've got the 3 related scales. So next up, now it is time, let's see. Yes, about relative minor. What is all this business we're talking about? Now, you probably heard the term relative minor, maybe for parallel minor, and of course there's natural and melodic. Here's the thing. All 4 of these are not the same category. Relative and parallel, they're, you know, flip sides they're one category of describing minors, whereas natural and melodic are a different category of describing minors. Don't get these 4 all shuffled together. Relative and parallel get discussed back to back. Natural and melodic and harmonic get discussed back to back to back. But don't, you know, blend them all together. And I'll explain why right now. So a relative minor is related by having the same notes. It's got the same key signature, the same actual notes. These are the notes in the relative minor. They have the same DNA, the same actual notes, the same key signature. But it starts on a different pitch. That is the only difference. All right? They're related by key signature, but it just starts in a different location. And we've done work on this in class, so most people should be familiar with this by now. So you're not going to change the sharps. You're not going to change how many sharps or flats there are on a key signature to get to the natural minor. You're simply going to start on the 6th scale degree of this. So here's the 1st scale degree, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th. There's the 6th one. Now, for those of you who do not play a bass clef instrument, trust me on this, this is the note E, the 6th note of the scale. G, A, B, C, D, E. There's your E. So E is the root note of our minor mode scale. Both of them, actually. E natural minor, E melodic minor, both of them will be starting on E. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this whole chunk. Select the 1st measure, hold down the shift, select the last measure. I've now highlighted the entire G major scale. I'm going to hit copy, which is the command button, and C, like I mentioned before. Now, to paste something, this is kind of cool. You just sort of plunk it right there. All right? And we would just hit Control V for paste. And there it is. Now, let's see. I jumped ahead of myself. Ladies and gentlemen, ta-da! Inputting the new scales, using all the scales we've been developing. Before we do the inputting the scales, let me back up and explain one more thing about natural minor and melodic minor. So you're starting on the 6th scale degree of the major. Right? You're starting on that E, and that's cool. There are 3 kinds of minors. There's natural minor, there's melodic minor, and there's something called harmonic minor. We're going to ignore harmonic minor right now. Natural and melodic minor, they both start on E. But the melodic minor has a couple of different notes that get tucked in there. Some accidentals you have to plug in. All right? But they're both going to be E. All right? Natural minor is related to G major. Melodic minor is related to G major. They're all relative minors. These are both relative minors of the G major. Relatives, 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 right? Brother, sister, sister, or whatever you want to call it. You know, maybe sister, brother, brother. I could care less. But it is when you have G minor and you have G, A, B flat instead, C, D, E flat, F natural, G. That is called the parallel minor because it starts parallel on the same dang note. I'm not writing that in. Notice the key signature doesn't have any flats. There are no flats in the key signature. This is not about parallel minor at all. Parallel minor would be a G minor. G major, G minor, parallel. All right, they're not related by notes. The key signature for the G minor scale would have 2 flats, no sharps. Don't even talk about it. All right, we're focusing on natural, focusing on melodic. And moreover, we're going to input the new scales. Here we go. So we have selected the first measure. We hold the shift button down. We have selected the last measure of this stretch. We have hit Command C for copy. We have plunked the first measure here, and we hit paste. Interestingly, it is not required to highlight all 5 measures. It'll just sort of, paste in all 5 of what you just copied, starting at the measure you've selected. So if you have other notes there, it'll sort of plow over them. If you want to be extra safe about things, you can select those 5 measures if you want. But as you saw, all I did was select the first one and hit paste, and bam, there it was. Now, we have G major, and we have G major all over again. But we don't want G major all over again because, as the subtitle says, G major and now E natural minor. So we're going to take this whole stretch, we're going to make it start on E, the 6th scale degree of the G major scale. So how do we make the root note? How do we make the starting note of this highlighted stretch an E? Those of you out there in the interwebs are shouting, click the down button, click the down button. Yes, on your keyboard, the down arrow key. You click down once and it doesn't start, and no longer will this be starting on G, it'll start on the 7th note of a G major scale. But we don't want that, we want to click it one more time. And this is now the 6th note of the G major scale. We went back a couple instead of going up 6. So we now have E. Those of you that do not play cello or bass, trust me, E. Here's an F sharp. There's a G, A, B, C, D, E. All right. As a matter of fact, let me just get out of here for a second. You will hit play, and you will hear the G major scale. And we hit stop for a second. All right, so that was the major. Now, we have not changed key sig. The only thing we've done, we copied and pasted the same dang thing here, moved it down so it starts in the 6th note of the scale, right there. This will now sound like a minor scale. This will be a natural minor. Now, this is not natural to say that every single note is natural. Remember, we have an F sharp in here. It would probably make more sense if they called it E normal minor, but they named this thing centuries ago, and I can't change it, so we're stuck. All right, but it's just generally means like the same exact, it's the same normal, natural state of key signature. Nothing's been changed, nothing's been messed with. There are no accidentals. It's just the same key sig as what we had before, and it sounds minor because we're starting on the 6th scale degree. Bam, and the machine stops playing the minute that there's no more notes to play. If you want to play at the beginning of the piece, of course, you click right there, wherever you want to start. So that is not bad for natural minor. Now, melodic minor, I'm going to hit this measure. I'm going to hold the shift button down. I'm going to hit this measure. I'm going to copy the whole thing by holding the command button and hitting letter C. Now I'm going to paste them right here. Paste. Bam. Now, this is another natural minor because it's identical to what we just had up here, right? It's wider, but it's the same exact notes. We want to make it melodic minor. And here's the weird thing about melodic minor. Many centuries ago, when classical composers were starting to write things in the Baroque and the actual classical era, they decided that certain notes didn't quite sound right when you were playing a piece that was written in the minor key. And it was the sixth note and the seventh note of the scale didn't quite swing as far as they were concerned. It didn't quite, it didn't have that feel. And so whenever they wrote a melody, they experimented and found out that if you raise the sixth note of the scale and the seventh note of the scale, it sounds pretty cool. It sounds more appropriate, more right. And so they decided that anytime they wrote a melody, that they would, well, not anytime, but most of the time when they wrote melodies, they would raise the sixth note and the seventh note of the scale. And when you're going back downhill and your melody is going back down, you would lower them again, and they would go back to the natural state that they were in the first place. How to train a musician to play this kind of stuff? Well, you write them scales with those notes raised. So here's the deal: E melodic minor for playing melodies in the classical genre will have the sixth note and seventh note raised. So they're going to sound like this: D. What I was saying? E, F sharp, G, A, B. This next one is going to be sharpened. We hit the shift and we hit the plus symbol. And we're also going to raise the D to a D sharp. I'm going to hit the plus symbol. And we have now raised the sixth and seventh note of the scale. There's the eighth note, it's the octave, E. So there, now, all we have to do is change the sixth and seventh note. 1, 2, 1, the root note, right? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Plus symbol makes it sharp. Plus symbol makes it sharp. And if you're saying, all right, we get it, we're going to make that a plus symbol there, make that sharp as well, I say, no, 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 no. Because on the way downhill, you do not raise them. And you're like, but that's weird. I'm like, well, yes, it is. Who said music was normal? All right. In fact, it's the it is the fact that it is so occasionally unpredictable and abnormal that makes it sound so cool. All right. So embrace the weirdness and accept the fact that melodic minor means you raise the sixth note and the seventh note on the way up, but on the way downhill, put them back where you found them. So how will that sound? Well, I'm glad you asked. It sounds a little like this. Yeah. Now, to be fair, if you're saying, well, that's weird, why didn't they just raise them both times? Let me raise them briefly, and then you will hear how just squirrely it sounds if you have them, like, raised on the way uphill and the way downhill. It sounds like this weird mishmash of major and minor at the same time. I can't explain it. Just listen, and if you go, ew, if it messes with your ears, that's a normal response. It's okay. Good so far. So on the way downhill, it's like happy, happy minor mode. It's just an odd combination of things. So I'm going to I can hit the undo here, or I could see where it says right in the corner there, it says little control, Command Z, undo sharps, and there it is. Okay. So now, having done all of that, I will have 3 scales. We're not done yet, though. Hang on. We have the 3 scales. Let's just quick review. We're going to hit play. Key signature does not change because they're all related. They're relative minor and major of each other. So here we go. G major. E natural minor. Same notes. Different order, though. E melodic minor. Raise a couple of them. There you have it. Now, we move on to the next section. This is the last section, ladies and gentlemen. Accidentals, how to apply them, where to put them in this assignment. I never gave you the cue card that said this is the next section, but there you have it. Hopefully it was you survived. You're not too traumatized by the absence of a title card. And let's see. VIII, that is 8. 5 plus 3 is 8. And then the next title card, IX, 1 before 10, which is to say part 9, score editing, to make reading when you're playing it go more smoothly. Excuse me. So here's the deal. In big long pieces, you know, a page long, 2 pages long, you're going to have rehearsal letters like letter A, letter B, stuff like that. You'll also find that they will put in double bars when something significant happens, like when stuff changes tempo or key signature. They'll put a double bar in there to make it really obvious. Something big has changed here. And then often you'll find that text is added to explain what's going on in this new section. Maybe the text will say something like Largo, or it'll say Friend Like Me if it's part of a medley, and this is where the new tune from the medley is coming in. So this is what we're going to do right here. First up, I want you to include some double bars. We're gonna, and that's to say, like, instead of one line separating a measure from another measure, I'm going to make 2 lines there, double bars, and they're going to go in right at the start of every new scale. So now we can highlight things. You can highlight the whole piece. You can highlight a specific rest. You can highlight a note. You can highlight the dynamic markings. You can highlight a down bow. Well, not really a down bow. You can highlight slur. And if you ever want to change your mind about slurs, you grab that and you yank it around. Woo, I'm slurring the whole darn measure, but we're not going to do that. Undo. But you can also select the bar line. Notice that's red right there. Lean in, squint if you have to. If you're looking on a phone, you poor sorry son of a gun. Ideally, you're doing this on a much larger screen. That bar line right there is now red. And if you go up to the measure bay, add measure, subtract measure, key sig, time sig, treble clef, bass clef, single bar line. Ooh, what's this? Double bar line. Bam! 2 lines to say something's changed here, right? Now, where's the other one? Oh, it's right here. And double bar as well. Okay, so that's part of the assignment as well. I want you to put double bar lines at the beginning of the E natural minor, double bar line at the beginning of E melodic minor. Okay. Next up, I would like you to add some text. Tell us what these things are. So select the first note. There's already mezzo forte associated with it. There's a down bow associated with it. Now we're going to add some text to it. Do not hit Command T. That'll just give you another tab. We went over this before. And if you do, no big deal. You can just, delete the tab. Big deal. Just hit the letter T, the key that says T. And this little pink box shows up there. And now just write in G space, capital M-A-J-O-R, G major. And click out of that box. Oh, anywhere you like, really. And it's all by itself. Now, this is overlapping with beats, 120 beats per minute. So you click it, make it red, and now adjust it. Move it out of the way. Up arrow, up arrow, up arrow. Move it right a little bit if you want to. That's fine. I'm fine with that. So G major. Yay! Now we're going to label this one as well. So you click that note. Remember that this is going to be E natural minor. So when you click T for text, you're going to type in E space natural minor. Oop. It is, and then click out of the box to be done with it. If you just hit return, you get, well, here, I'll show you. So if you just hit return, suddenly you have 2 lines of text, 3 lines of text, 4 lines of text. You're not writing a paragraph. So just click, there it is. And you want to lower it a little bit, you can lower it a bit. There you go, a couple of down arrows and you're set. You may have noticed that I'm using all lowercase here. There's sort of this, amongst one of the bazillion unspoken rules of music. Capital letters for majors. So if you see capital letter G, it's a G major. Capital M, well, capitalize letter M. Lowercase e, because it's a minor, lowercase, 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 lowercase. It's just tradition. It's not the end of the world. If you capitalize your E, I could cope, but it's kind of nice to have that letter E be lowercase. So one last scale to label the melodic minor. Starts right here after your double bar. So once again, T, and then you write in E space melodic minor, and you click out of that pink box, and there it is, done. All right, so we've covered double bars. We've covered the text that tells us what's going on in the next section. I'm going to ask you to do one more thing, and then you will be done. And that is this. I'd just like a rehearsal letter for the switch from majors to minors. Now there's only one major, really. So the border between major stuff and minor stuff is right here. Click the stubble bar, and we're going to add a rehearsal letter. It's a form of text. Up here, the text bay, we have, what's this? It says you can add lyrics if you want to. We're not singing this, don't even worry about it. There, performance text T, we've been doing that, just typing the T letter. Expression text, that's the command and the E. That was how we got mezzo forte in there. You can add chord symbols if you've got friends that play guitar and want to play along. But then at the very end here, rehearsal letter. There's an A with a box around it. And guess what happens if you've got this bar in red and you click this button? There it is, rehearsal letter A. Yay! You're saying, well, sure, but it's overlapping with the letter E. Well, you can fix that, remember? Select this, right arrow a few times, bip, 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 overlap not there. Shazam. This, you take a screenshot of and upload, and I'll be a happy man. All right, folks, thank you very much. Hopefully this video didn't last too crazy long. Best of luck to you. The hours available, I believe, are Tuesday from, 10 to 11 and 11 to 12, if I'm not mistaken. And then on Friday, the last 2 hours, 1 to 2 and 2 to 3. Ideally, you ask me questions not at the very last minute. I'll be open to responding to emails or comments on Google Classroom. You know me, I want to see you guys get this thing right. So there you go. Thanks much. Bye.